Parents, what's the craziest thing your child has ever said? My 8-year-old nephew Cole has always been one of those kids who says weird stuff, like he'll randomly ask if trees feel pain when you cut them or why adults pretend to like coffee when it tastes like dirt. Normal weird kid things, you know. But last summer at our family barbecue, he said something that made everyone's blood run cold. Uncle Ben was hosting at his house like he always does. Ben's been single forever, lives alone in this old house with a basement he converted into a home office. Super normal guy, coaches little league, brings donuts to work, the whole deal. We never had any reason to think anything was off about him. Cole had been running around with his cousins all afternoon. Hot dogs, pool games, typical family stuff. Around 4 o'clock, he disappeared inside to use the bathroom. We figured he was just cooling off from the heat. He was gone for maybe 15 minutes. When he came back outside, he walked straight up to where all the adults were sitting and said it. Why does Uncle Ben keep his wife in the basement? Everyone just froze, like complete silence. Uncle Ben's face went white as a sheet. My sister, Emma, laughed first. That nervous kind of laugh you do when something's uncomfortable. Cole, Uncle Ben doesn't have a wife, remember? But Cole just shook his head real serious like, yes, he does. I saw her through the window. She has long black hair and she waved at me. Uncle Ben tried to play it off. You probably saw a reflection. Or something, buddy. Maybe the TV was on downstairs, but Cole kept insisting. No, it was a real lady. She looked sad. She pressed her hand against the glass like this. He demonstrated, pressing his little palm flat against the patio door. All the adults exchanged those looks. You know, the ones like when you're trying to figure out if a kid is making stuff up or if something's actually wrong. My sister Emma pulled Cole aside and asked him to show her exactly where he saw this woman. He walked her around to the side of the house where there's this tiny basement window that's barely above ground level. It's got bars on it because it's so low. Right there, Cole pointed. She was sitting on a bed. When she saw me, she got really excited and started waving. Emma looked through the window but couldn't see anything. It was too dark inside. That night, Cole drew a picture, a stick figure woman with long black hair behind bars. At the bottom, he wrote in his messy 8-year-old handwriting, "She told me not to tell, but I think she needs help." Emma showed me the drawing, and my stomach just dropped. Cole had never been in Ben's basement ever. We'd asked him to describe what he saw inside, and he mentioned details that were too specific. A purple blanket, a small table with books on it, a bucket in the corner. Emma called the police the next morning. She felt crazy doing it, but something about Cole's story just wouldn't leave her alone. The way he described the woman's face, how he kept saying she looked scared. When the cops showed up at Ben's house that afternoon, he tried to act normal, invited them in for coffee, said of course they could look around. But when they asked about the basement, he got nervous, started stumbling over his words. They found her. Her name was Rachel. She'd been Ben's girlfriend 2 years ago before she just vanished. Everyone assumed she'd moved away or something. Turns out Ben had convinced her that her family didn't want her around anymore, that the world outside was dangerous, that he was the only one who cared about her. She'd been living in that basement for 18 months. Ben brought her food and told her it wasn't safe to leave. She believed him because she struggled with anxiety and depression. He made her dependent on him. But when she saw Cole through that window, something clicked. She realized how wrong everything was. A little kid shouldn't have to see her like that. Ben got arrested that same day. Rachel got the help she needed. Me 8-year-old nephew, Cole, has always been one of those kids who says stuff that makes you pause. Not in a creepy way, usually just the sort of things that make adults blink and go, huh? Like the time he asked if trees scream inside when you cut them, or why grown-ups drink coffee if it tastes like angry dirt water. You know, classic kid oddities. But last summer, he said something that made everyone at our family barbecue stop breathing. We were all at Uncle Ben's house, a modest place tucked away in a quiet neighborhood with a big backyard perfect for family get-togethers. Ben's always been the reliable bachelor uncle. Coaches Little League, shows up early to Thanksgiving, brings Krispy Kreme to every family function. Just a chill, friendly guy. Nothing weird about him. Or so we thought. That day was hot. Kids were running wild in the yard. Adults sitting in lawn chairs under umbrellas, sipping lemonade and beers while the grill sizzled. Cole had been playing tag and dunking himself in the kiddie pool with his cousins. Everything was normal. Loud, sticky, summer kind of normal. Around 4 o'clock p.m., Cole wandered inside. He said he had to pee and wanted to cool off. We didn't think anything of it. But when he didn't come back for about 15 minutes, my sister Emma was just starting to stand up when the sliding patio door opened and there he was, face pink from the heat, his hair damp with sweat. He walked right over to the group of adults, and he said it. Why does Uncle Ben keep his wife in the basement? I can't explain the silence that followed. The sound of the grill hissing, birds chirping, and lawn chairs creaking as everyone turned to look at Cole and then at Uncle Ben in complete stillness. The kind of silence where time seems to actually pause. Uncle Ben froze. I mean completely. Beer halfway to his lips. Just stuck. Emma let out this nervous chuckle. Cole, sweetheart. Uncle Ben doesn't have a wife. Remember? He lives by himself. Cole didn't blink, didn't smile. He just shook his head, eyes wide and serious. No, he does. I saw her in the basement, through the little window on the side. She had long black hair, and she waved at me. Ben tried to laugh it off. Buddy, you probably saw a reflection. Maybe the TV or something. The sun can make weird shadows down there. But Cole wasn't backing down. She was real. She looked sad. She pressed her hand on the glass like this. He held up his hand, palm flat against the patio door. Every adult was exchanging those looks, the ones that silently ask, is this a joke? Should we be worried? Emma got up and gently took Cole's hand. Can you show me where you saw her? They walked around the house. I followed, heart thudding in my chest. I didn't know why. It was just a kid being weird, right? But something about the way Cole was acting, so calm and sure, it made my stomach turn. He led Emma to the side of the house, to one of those narrow basement windows right at ground level. It had metal bars over it, probably from when the house was first built. Right there, he pointed. She was sitting on a little bed. When she saw me, she got really excited and waved. Then she put her hand up and looked scared. Emma crouched down and peered into the window, but it was too dark to see anything. Still, her face didn't look relaxed when she stood back up. That night, Cole did something he rarely did. He sat at the kitchen table with a box of crayons and drew. He brought the picture to Emma and handed it to her without saying a word. It was a stick figure woman, long black hair, behind what looked like bars. At the bottom, in shaky 8-year-old letters, it said, "She told me not to tell, but I think she needs help." Emma showed me, and I swear to God my stomach dropped hard. It felt like gravity doubled. Cole had never been in Ben's basement. None of the kids had. It was off limits. But when we asked him to describe the room, he said there was a purple blanket, a tiny table with books on it, and a silver bucket in the corner. All very specific. Emma felt crazy, but she called the police the next morning, told them it was probably nothing, maybe a misunderstanding, but that her son had seen something strange. They actually took it seriously. Maybe it was the way she described the drawing. Maybe it was just a slow Tuesday. But they showed up at Ben's house around noon. He answered the door with a smile, invited them in, offered them coffee. But when they asked about the basement, something shifted. His words got jumbled. He said it was a mess, that there was nothing down there, that it was just storage. They asked to see it. He hesitated. Eventually, one officer just went down while the other kept Ben in the kitchen. They found her. Her name was Rachel. She had been Ben's girlfriend over 2 years ago, someone we vaguely remembered. People thought she'd just moved out of state. She had no close family nearby. No one had really noticed when she stopped coming around. Turns out, after she'd fallen into a deep depression, Ben convinced her that the world was unsafe, that her family had given up on her, that she couldn't survive on her own. He kept her in the basement for 18 months, bringing food and whispering lies. She believed him. She trusted him. And he took advantage of that trust. She hadn't seen anyone from the outside in months until Cole, when she saw a child looking through that tiny window. Something broke loose in her. She waved. She tried to signal. She finally realized this wasn't care. This was captivity. Ben was arrested on the spot. Charges stacked a mile high. Rachel was taken to the hospital. She's in therapy now, living with her sister across the state, recovering slowly. Cole doesn't talk about it much. He just says, "I'm glad I didn't keep the secret. We're glad too." He saved a life by being a weird, honest, stubborn little boy who couldn't help but speak the truth. Story. 2. D. Cole saved her life by being a kid who couldn't keep his mouth at my wedding. My mom smiled and said, "We're giving the car her parents gifted you to your sister." My sister laughed and added, "Relax, it's just a car." My bride just looked at her and said, "Your envelope was empty, but we took it as a symbolic gift." I just whispered, "Give them this." My wife passed over an envelope. They opened it smiling, but what they read left them speechless. I saw the smile before I saw the betrayal. It was the kind of smile only a mother could wear at her child's wedding. Soft, bright, rehearsed. The music was still playing. My bride and I had just finished our first dance. Glasses clinked in the background. Somewhere, someone was laughing. Then my mother leaned in and said it. "We're giving the car her parents gifted you to your sister." She said it like she was passing on a piece of pie, like it was just a family decision, settled in the kitchen over coffee. No warning, no question, just "We're giving away your wedding gift." My sister Danielle stood beside her, dress sparkling under the lights, and laughed. "Relax," she said. "It's just a car." My bride turned her head slowly toward her, her voice perfectly calm. "Your envelope was empty, but we took it as a symbolic gift." Silence. Not the kind you hear, the kind you feel. When her stops moving and eyes freeze mid-blank. I didn't raise my voice, didn't flinch. I just leaned in and whispered to my wife, "Give them this." She reached into her small purse, pulled out a wide envelope, and handed it to my mother. My father stepped in too, suddenly curious, lips pressed tight. Danielle took a step forward, her smirk stretching. They opened it like it was a birthday card, but what they read left them speechless. "You don't grow up thinking your wedding day will be the battleground. But maybe I should have known." Danielle always got what she wanted. Not through tantrums or shouting. That would have made it too obvious. She was smarter than that. She smiled sweetly. She asked gently, and when that didn't work, our parents stepped in for her. I was the older brother, the resilient one. That meant I could wait, could give in, could hand things over without a scene. She got the bigger room. I got the explanation. She's younger. She needs more space. She wrecked my laptop in college. It was an accident, Mom said. "You should have backed it up." She crashed her first car, a car my grandparents helped buy, and they blamed the weather. I paid for my own with 3 years of warehouse shifts and cheap ramen dinners. When I got engaged, my fiancé's parents gave us a car. Not flashy, just something reliable to start our new life. It was the first gift I didn't earn through sacrifice. The first thing that felt truly ours. That must have been the problem. Danielle had never been told no in a language she understood. When her own boyfriend backed out of their lease, she cried. When she missed a job interview, she blamed the universe. And every time my parents spun the narrative to protect her from consequences, "She's just going through a rough patch. She's sensitive. She's your sister." But the rough patch had lasted a decade, and I was tired of being her safety net. When we got engaged, Danielle didn't even pretend to be happy. She made jokes about finally settling and asked my fiancé if she was sure about marrying someone so intense. My bride just smiled, quiet, unbothered. But I saw the flick in her eyes, the way she cataloged every word. Then came the envelope. My in-laws gave it to us at the rehearsal dinner. Inside was the title to a car, a wedding gift. Clean, used, reliable, not fancy, but symbolic. "You built this life together," her father said. "Here's something to help you move forward." We didn't show it off, didn't post about it, just tucked the papers away, grateful. Until the morning of the wedding, when my mother knocked on our dressing suite. Her voice was soft, her smile practiced. "Danielle's been having car trouble. It's unsafe. You understand?" I looked at her confused. Then she said it. "That car her parents gave you. We thought it might be more useful for your sister. You two can manage with one for now." It wasn't a question. My bride laughed, not kindly. "We're not giving away our wedding gifts," she said. My mother's smile faltered. "Well, we already told her she could have it. Don't make this a thing." That should have been the end. But I didn't want drama on our wedding day. I told myself we'd deal with it after. But now in the middle of our reception, my mother made it public. "We're giving the car her parents gifted you to your sister." And Danielle just laughed like it was all a joke. Like she hadn't already gone into our garage last night and taken photos. Like she hadn't posted them with the caption, "Finally got a ride that fits me." The envelope we handed over. Not a check, not a thank you card. It was a notarized letter from my in-law's attorney stating that the vehicle registered in my bride's name was not to be sold, gifted, or transferred without her written and notarized consent. Any attempt to do so would trigger an automatic legal review and void any future inheritance agreements. Danielle's smirk vanished first. Then Mom's face pad. My father took the paper, read it, and muttered, "You're being petty, but my bride?" She leaned forward, her voice like glass. "You wanted something symbolic. This is it." My mother didn't blink when she read the envelope, but her smile, that controlled pageant perfect smile, trembled just slightly at the corners. Danielle leaned over her shoulder, reading too fast to hide her eagerness. And then it happened. Her face dropped. I watched it in real time, her lips parting, her brows twitching upward, her pupils shrinking like she'd just been slapped. My father reached for the letter with 2 fingers, scanning it like it might rewrite itself if he stared long enough. "What is this?" he finally muttered. My wife answered before I could. "A notarized legal declaration," she said softly. "Drafted 2 weeks ago, signed by both of us." Her voice was steady, calm, but her words were edged like glass. It states that all wedding gifts, including that vehicle, are legally ours. Any attempt to reassign, transfer, or claim it without our explicit consent will be treated as an unauthorized transfer. In pursuit accordingly, the silence that followed, explosive, not loud, but dense, heavy, like something had broken that could never be glued back. "You can't be serious," Danielle spat. "You're threatening us. On your wedding day, you crossed a boundary," I said when you overstepped, knowing it wasn't yours to claim. My mom scoffed, pushing the paper back into the envelope like it was beneath her. "This is overreaction drama. It's a car, not a child. No. I said it's the principle. It's everything that came before the car." Danielle threw her arms up. "Oh my God. Here we go. This is about high school again, isn't it? About me getting the bigger room or Mom buying me a dress." I looked straight at her. "It's about you always assuming what's mine is temporary, that it exists until you want it. You're being so petty. No, my wife said. "We're being done." Danielle's jaw dropped. "Wow, you think you're tough now, huh? Just because you married into money." That was it. I took a step forward. Just one. "You don't know a thing about what I've built, about what we built. You think everything we have was handed to us because that's the only life you've ever known." Danielle's mouth opened, but I didn't let her speak. "You've coasted for years, avoiding consequences while others pay the price." Mom gasped. "Don't speak to her like that. She's family." "No," I said, voice flat. "She's always relied on others." Danielle's face turned red. "I'm struggling. You've grown used to being saved by others." I snapped. "You're not perfect either," she yelled. "You left home, remember? You ghosted us for 3 years because I had to breathe." My voice cracked then, not from weakness, but finality. "Because being around you was a full-time job. Because I was done watching you break things and get comforted while I fixed them and got ignored." My mother stepped in, voice low and trembling. "We've always supported you." "No. I said you tolerated me. You celebrated her." Dad finally spoke. "Okay, enough. This is a wedding. Can we just know?" My wife cut in. "We tried to let this slide. We tried to keep it peaceful. You made it public." She turned to Danielle. "I sharp? You posted photos of our car like it was already yours. You came into our day with open hands and an empty envelope and then smiled like you were owed a trophy." Danielle laughed bitterly. "That envelope was a joke, obviously a symbolic gesture." "Symbolic of what?" my wife said, tilting her head. "That you think your presence is a gift?" The gasp that came from my aunt at the next table made Danielle flinch. "You've always been like this," she hissed. "Both of you self-righteous, pretending to be above it all." I looked around. People had stopped dancing. The DJ's hands hovered over the controller, unsure what to do. My cousin's girlfriend whispered something and pulled out her phone. "Recording? Maybe." I didn't care anymore. "You're angry," I said, "because for the first time, the spotlight isn't on you because this day wasn't built around your needs." My mother raised her chin. "This is still family. You don't treat us like we broke the law. You entered our garage without permission last night," I said coldly. "You took the car out. You took photos." Danielle blinked. "You think we didn't check the cameras?" I asked. Her face turned white. "We weren't stealing it," she stammered. Just wanted to test it. Make sure it was safe. You used the vehicle without our consent," my wife said, her voice suddenly louder, clearer. "You posted it online. You mocked us. And then you stood here tonight with your empty envelope and called it symbolic. Then she smiled. But this one's real. She handed Danielle a second envelope, a formal notice addressed directly to her. Danielle looked at it like it burned. My mother reached for it, snatched it from her hands. This is disgusting. No, I said this is accountability. We are your parents, my father growled. And this is my boundary, I said. That was when my wife turned to the crowd, to the people frozen watching. I'm sorry, she said, for the interruption. The open bar is still running. The cake's still coming. And we'd love to see you all dance again. Her smile returned. The music started. Danielle stepped back like she'd been shoved. My mother glared, eyes wild, lip trembling. My father muttered something about disgrace and followed them both out. I watched them leave. No apology, no goodbye, just silence where the storm had been. I looked at my wife. Still glad you married me? I asked, half smiling. She didn't blink. She leaned in, kissed my cheek, and whispered, best investment I ever made. The door shut behind them with a soft final click. Not a slam, not a storm out, just the sound of people who were used to being obeyed, realizing they no longer held that power and still walking away like they did. I stood still for a few seconds after they left. The dance floor was frozen. The music had stopped halfway through a beat, hanging in the air like a held breath. My bride stood beside me, her hands still in mine, perfectly still. Then the DJ, unsure but professional, dropped a safer track, something upbeat, too bright for the mood. The guests moved slowly at first, hesitant, like waking up from something they didn't understand. But the spell broke. Laughter came back, chatter returned, glasses clinked again. But nothing was quite the same. I saw it in their eyes. The way some of our guests looked at us with something like awe. The way others avoided our gaze completely. A few were visibly shaken. Most weren't sure if they should smile or apologize. But no one said a word about what happened. They didn't have to. We had burned through the illusion, and I wasn't sorry, not one bit. My aunt tried to save face. Well, she laughed too loudly. That was dramatic. My cousin muttered something about always knowing Danielle had a streak in her. Someone else clapped my shoulder and said, that was one of a boundary, man. My bride and I danced again slowly, not for performance this time, not to entertain or fulfill expectations, just for us, just to reclaim the space. Every step felt like a quiet declaration. We're still here, still standing, still married, still free. Later in the car, we didn't speak much. The silence wasn't awkward. It was earned, like we'd crossed some invisible finish line, like the worst had happened, and we'd handled it. When we got home that night, we parked the car, our car, in the garage and locked the doors twice. The next morning, the aftermath began. A Facebook post from Danielle. Some people value money more than family. Hope it's worth it. 50 likes. Mostly people who hadn't shown up to the wedding. Then my mother posted a photo of the sunset, captioned, learning to let go is painful, but sometimes necessary. Still praying for those who forget where they came from. That one stung. Not because I believed her, but because I knew she did. She still believed she was the victim. Still believed love meant ownership. Still believed that parenting gave her a lifetime license to take. We didn't respond. We went silent, and silence was our new weapon. They were expecting calls, pleas, reassurances. They thought eventually I'd reach out and say, let's just move on. But we didn't. We unfriended Danielle. We muted my parents. We left the group chats. The GoFundMe Danielle created for a vehicle emergency caused by betrayal made 18. One of the donations was from someone named Karma. I didn't laugh. I didn't share it. I just kept the screenshot. 2 days later, a text from my mom arrived. You're still angry. I get that, but this is going too far. I didn't reply. Then, family helps family. That's how we raised you. So, I sent one message, one photo. It was the legal document, the cease and desist, the signature line. Below it, I typed, help isn't theft. I wasn't supported. I was expected to give, and I blocked her number. We left for our honeymoon. 3 days later, we took the car. Our car, the one Danielle thought would be hers, the one we almost lost to guilt. We drove out past the edge of the city, out where cell towers dropped and roads turned to silence. We slept in little mountain inns, ate gas station snacks, and laughed at dumb podcasts. My wife took a photo of me driving, sunglasses on, grinning. She posted it with the caption, The man who finally stopped apologizing. I didn't ask her to take it down. I didn't need to because for once, I wasn't shrinking to keep the peace. The next wedding invitation we got was from a college friend. The RSVP card had a line that said, "Song requests or notes for the couple." I wrote, "Don't invite people who think love means access to your stuff." 2 weeks after we returned, I got one missed call from my dad. No voicemail. That felt deliberate, like a breadcrumb. But I didn't call back. I didn't need to. The silence was already saying everything. I used to think boundaries were cruel. That saying no meant closing a door that should always stay open. That family, even when they disappointed you, even when they disrespected you, still deserve space at your table. But then they tried to steal the table and told me to be grateful. It's strange what happens when you finally stop explaining yourself. At first, it's quiet, then it's lonely, then it's free, truly free. I didn't hear from Danielle for months after the wedding. Not after the GoFundMe flopped. Not after her post about being abandoned by people she trusted got 30 likes and 0 shares. Not even after her birthday passed without a single text from me. I thought she might rage, might show up at my door screaming. Instead, she vanished. Like entitlement with nothing left to take. My parents were quieter. We're surgical. My mother sent one long email. "We raised you better than this. I don't know what she's filled your head with, but I hope you come home soon." I didn't answer. She followed up 3 days later with a photo from my childhood. Me and Danielle on the porch, arms around each other, grinning. Caption: "Don't let her erase your memories." I deleted it. I didn't need to forget where I came from. I just stopped pretending it was ever a safe place. People talk about breaking cycles like it's a single act. Like you cut the rope once and the damage stops echoing. But it doesn't. It lingers. The guilt, the reflex, the voice in your head that says, maybe I'm the problem. It took me 3 therapy sessions just to admit I didn't miss them. That what I felt wasn't grief. It was relief. I wasn't mourning my family. I was detoxing from them. My wife saw it before I did. "You don't owe them love," she told me once while I stared at my mother's 5th unread message. "You owe yourself peace." It sounded dramatic at the time. It doesn't anymore. I changed the locks. Not metaphorically, literally. Replaced the garage keypad. Reprogrammed every smart lock. Deleted every backup contact on our emergency list. I took their photos down from the fridge. Not out of anger, out of accuracy. Why display people who only saw me as a resource? I kept one photo of me standing in front of the car they tried to steal. Suit wrinkled, tie loosened. Jaws said my wife took it seconds after they left the wedding. It's not a happy picture, but it's honest, and sometimes honesty is the only kind of love you have left. I still get occasional messages from relatives. A cousin DM'd me a few weeks ago. "You've made your point. Isn't it time to forgive?" But forgiveness isn't a point. It's not something I owe people just because they share my blood type. Danielle forgave herself every time she took. My parents forgave her every time she failed. Nobody ever forgave me for saying no, so no, I don't forgive. I move forward. For our first anniversary, we drove the same car, the one they tried to reassign mid-reception, out to the coast. No GPS, no destination, just us, windows down, wind in our faces. At one point, my wife turned to me and said, "Remember when we used to explain everything to everyone?" I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I'd almost forgotten that version of us. The apologizes, the justifiers, the ones who thought staying silent was the high road. No, we don't whisper anymore. We say exactly what we mean. When we got home that night, there was a letter in the mailbox. No return address. I knew the handwriting instantly. Inside was a birthday card, a generic one, the kind you find near the checkout aisle when you remember too late. It said, "We miss you. We love you. Come back when you're ready to be part of the family again." My hands didn't shake. My chest didn't clench. I just stood there completely still. Then I tore the card in half, dropped it in the trash, and walked back inside without looking over my shoulder. Because here's the truth. I don't miss them. I don't want their version of family. I don't want a seat at their table if it comes with a bill. I want peace, and I have it every time I unlock my door without wondering who might be behind it. Every time I start the car and know it's mine, not borrowed, not begged for, not offered with strengths. Every time I wake up beside someone who never made me earn their love. That's what they never understood. You can't steal peace from someone who fought for it. And you can't gild a man who finally knows what it feels like to be free. So, if they Ever wonder why I don't come back? Why I don't reply? Why the silence is still ringing after all this time? Let them sit with that because I already gave them their answer. It came in an envelope and it left them speechless. It's been 3 years. They still don't have my new address. I bought a second car last winter for my wife and her name, paid in full. When the dealership asked if we wanted a vanity plate, I didn't hesitate. It says N for you. Sometimes I wonder if Danielle's seen it, if she even has a car, if my parents are still covering her gas while pretending it's Grace. I heard through a friend of a friend that she moved back in with them. That she tells people I cut her off for no reason. That's the thing with people like her. They rewrite the ending so they can keep playing victim. Let her. I'm not part of the cast anymore. Last month, my wife and I bought a lake house. When we signed the deed, the lawyer asked, "Any family you want to add to the title?" I said, "None that would survive the background check." She laughed. I didn't. We framed the final clause of our prenup, the one that states, all marital assets are mutually protected from third-party claims, and hung it in the guest bathroom. Below it, we added a little plaque. Family isn't something you're owed. It's something you nurture or let go of. The last message I ever got from my mother was just 6 words. We were only trying to help. I didn't respond. I just forwarded it to my lawyer and added one sentence.